I enlisted February 5th, 1985.
A unit from Tennessee needed tactical controllers in Afghanistan, so I jumped at it.
Our company was a search and destroy company, so it was a daily occasion to run into the NVA.
Being transportation, we're always constantly on the road and constantly coming in contact with IEDs, improvised explosive devices.
One of the worst days was a place which took my captain's name, called Mudder's Ridge.
I remember the whole thing distinctively. I remember driving down the road, looking over and seeing a purple and blue wire.
We took the hill and dug in with approximately a light company of 126 men.
Just a lucky shot with a 107 millimeter Chinese rocket.
I remember the taste of the gunpowder, the taste of the dirt. I seen the flame. I heard the boom.
We went from 126 approximately to 12.
All of this was just a crazy nightmare.
I broke my left foot, shattered my left hip, broke my left shoulder.
Some titanium coils and stents in my head.
Lost part of my ear, part of my nose, part of my fingers.
Heavy combat and all kinds of combat seemed to make you an individual, and you hold it inside.
How were you able to handle that anxiety?
I didn't.
Basically, I drank for quite a while.
I was full of guilt, full of blame.
It took a toll on me. It really did.
I should have seen it sooner. I should have reacted different.
My mind has never left the military.
I didn't do any of the things that I enjoyed. Fishing, hunting.
I'm an avid outdoorsman. And when I was injured, I'm thinking, I'll never be able to do that again.
My name is Scott St. Sauver, and I tell stories. Stories of this nation's everyday heroes. Hey everybody, welcome back. The military veterans, firefighters, law enforcement officers, and first responders whose selfless service we take for granted every day.
Ready? Up.
Sharing their fear.
I could not go outside and be around people.
Their pain.
It was very tough.
Their passion.
It makes you feel like you're alive.
And their patriotism and incredible pride.
I'm very proud to say that I served in the Navy.
Experiencing it all in the irrepressible healing power of the outdoors. As a retired Army colonel with over 37 years in our National Guard, I've met some of the most sincere, amazing, and humble people that this nation has to offer. And their stories are simply too important not to tell. You see, it doesn't matter how you serve. Service to others is the most honorable thing that we can do. However, with this service comes a transformation, and we must recognize it. Providing a mechanism of trust with others who serve in the most dramatic of all locations, the majesty of this United States. This is who we are, a nation of people who need to touch, smell, and feel everything around us. It creates our identity, it creates our character, and it creates our core. This is Paying It Forward.
Welcome home.
Yep,
Thank you for your service.
Really? Came up and flew across the river?
Yeah, never seen that before.
I've enjoyed myself every time I've come out. It makes you feel like you're alive.
You know, for me, spending time in the outdoors with veterans, it's amazing what you see. When you get them into the outdoors, they start to open up, and you can just see those smiles start to glisten. And that's the neat and healing part of the outdoors.
Suddenly mortars and gunfire are flying in from everywhere.
But we were still in enemy skies, and we could see the P-51s prowling in the skies above.
So what does it mean to be a veteran? For our greatest generation from World War II, it meant going and serving your country, and if you were lucky, returning home to everyday life. No pomp, no circumstance, just life. To our Korean War veterans, it was never really seen as a war. It was just an event, a snapshot in time, and its warriors forgotten. Today, I'd like to introduce you to two of these veterans. They're amazing people, and the best way that I can describe them is to simply say, legends. retired Minnesota Senator Bob Lassard and his best friend, someone I suspect you've all heard of, Hall of Fame coach of the Minnesota Vikings, Bud Grant. Two of my American heroes, not because of their success in politics and coaching, but because of who they really are. Veterans of World War II and Korea, avid outdoorsmen who embrace our American spirit, and advocates for our currently serving military members, veterans, and families. Minnesota Senator Bob Lassard has been a Wildcat his entire life, a fierce advocate for the outdoors. He was literally kicked out of both the Republican and Democratic parties and eventually landed as an independent, serving from 1976 to 2002. His legislative initiatives included the first constitutional amendment protecting the right to hunt and fish in Minnesota, and the creation of the Lassard-Sams Heritage Council, ensuring enduring funding for our outdoor recreation. Hall of Fame Minnesota Vikings coach Bud Grant needs no introduction. The pictures of him prowling the sidelines in sub-zero Minnesota temperatures is legendary. His outdoor leadership just as legendary, standing firm on legislation that protects the rights of sportsmen. Going strong at ages 87 and 90 respectively, I want you to share the fun of trying to keep up with these two, listening to their amazing stories as we hunt turkeys with veterans on Camp Ripley in central Minnesota. The banter between two inseparable friends is priceless. Be prepared to laugh, but more importantly, beam with pride. The majesty of our outdoors, and two extraordinary gentlemen who simply refer to themselves as Bob and Bud, but I see as true American patriots.
What are you doing in here?
I don't.
Huh? No, there's no turkeys here, Bob. The turkeys are out there.
The main thing is keep your mouth shut and don't move.
Oh, yeah.
I got the championship cribbage.
You don't even know how to play cribbage, do you? I invented the game of cribbage. Well, am I telling the story or are you?
So I had to go, I had to lean way over like that, and kind of lean back and shoot sideways. I never shot a sideways shot before. I shot sideways to get the turkey. And luckily, I hit him in the head.
He tested us, that's for sure.
So that was, I'll tell you, as good a job of calling as I've ever been experienced. Now, we've all called turkeys, but I've never called a turkey across the river, across the Mississippi River. You got to hit him in the head. And knocking feathers out of him doesn't do it.
I found that out.
I've done that before. And I heard somebody did that today. Is that true?
Well, there's a rumor.
Huh?
There's a rumor. And it was over here, and it walks out. It looked like a pretty good size one, so it kept walking, gets up over here, and gets near the decoys, and we're watching it.
You got decoys on both sides here.
Let's put it this way, it was close, ran around, and all of a sudden, he said, "Hey, it's a jay." I said, "You know, well, can I shoot it?" "Yeah, you can shoot it." Make a long story longer or short, I got a feather and took off.
It was moving, you know, we should have taken it right here.
Well,
was it one feather or a bunch of feathers?
Not very many.
halfway between one and a bunch.
And that was
what's the number between one and a bunch?
One. You found it. So the excuse I have, if there is one, it was too close in the first place. Any other excuses I can try?
Yeah.
I know what the excuse was. I heard it. He didn't have his own gun.
He doesn't own a gun. Doesn't tell you about his gun. He doesn't own a gun. He borrows guns. He figured that out. It's cheaper to borrow a gun than ever to buy a gun.
What a crock.
Huh? Sometimes it appears we don't get along, but that means that we get along very well.
You know, what a couple awesome days that I got to spend not only with Bob Lassard, but also Bud Grant. You know, these two are not only legends, but they're true American heroes, both being involved in the service. And I'll tell you what, you know, when you get Bob and Bud together, it's an absolute comedy act. You can't ask for two greater people, but then you get them together and it's truly grumpy old men at its best.
Take a picture of what you're shooting and tell you where you missed.
You know, for me, spending time in the outdoors with veterans, it's amazing what you see. When you have them, you know, in a controlled environment around a bunch of people, a lot of them are really quiet, but when you get them into the outdoors, they start to open up and you can just see those smiles start to glisten. And that's the neat and healing part of the outdoors. And that's truly what this is about. And for me, you know, I wasn't able to serve in the service due to health reasons, but, you know, I always wanted to be able to give back to our veterans. You know, you see a lot of these things that these guys go through and you hear the stories, and to be able to get them in the outdoors, whether it's in a boat or out in the woods, it's truly amazing. And you know, I was really lucky a few years ago to be able to meet Colonel Scott St. Sovereign, and it was through a program with the National Guard where we traveled around the country and got guys out fishing after the tournaments and things like that. And you know, Scott really ran with it, and he asked me to help him, and we started an event called Trolling for Troops, and now this event's grown enormously over the past 5 years. It's not only just the Trolling for Troops, but it's the turkey hunts, the deer hunts, and the veterans outdoor programs that, you know, you really start to see how it affects so many people's lives. And you know, the more people you can affect and the more people you can get in the outdoors, you really see how these guys open up and their mind totally goes away from any of their worries for that day when you get them in the outdoors.
That's what this place does. It makes you feel like you're alive.
You know, one of the things that really hit home with me is listening to one of my heroes, Bud Grant, tell his stories of his service.
How many World War II veterans you got here? I'm a World War II veteran, very proud to say that I served in the Navy till the end of the war, and I dropped the bomb and I came home. I have no battle stars or anything, but I'm very proud to be a part of our service. And our scorecard in those years were not NFL teams or basketball or baseball scores or hockey scores. The scorecards we kept at that time was how many ships did we sink? How many aircraft did we knock down? How many did we lose? At the end of the war, they totaled it all up. I carry this with me. It's a little slip of paper. On this slip of paper, it reminds me of the casualties and the sacrifices that were made by people just like you out here that went and never came home or did come home and not in good shape. I had to have friends and relatives and acquaintances, I should say, in the 8th Air Force in England. They used to fly over Germany in 43, 44, and 45. 4-engine, I'm talking about the heavies now, not the fighter plane, the heavies. 4-engine planes, full of bombs, full of petrol, over to Germany, 3 or 4 hours over, 3 or 4 back. You had to serve 25 missions before you could stand down. I had a lot of friends there, but I kept score. At the end of the war, here's my score. We lost 6,800 heavy bombers. 6,800. Now think of that just a minute. Just 6,800 heavies went down. I don't know how long it takes to fall from 25 or 30,000 feet to the ground, but it does take a few Our Fathers and Hail Marys before you hit the ground. 6,800 heavies went down. 3,700 fighter planes went down. We had 47,000 casualties in that era of the war. I vowed at that time that I would never forget them. I would remind myself, there's a little piece of paper, it's in my wallet. I look at it once in a while. I lost friends, and most of them are, my compatriots are passed on. But I made a vow that I'd never forget them. And I want you to bear witness with me. Tonight, I have not forgotten them. And neither should you ever forget them. God bless America.